excited because I am hosting someone who is so experienced. I mean, he has an everyday experience about poultry farming. He's someone from Kenya, and that is the actual farmer. I know most of you have come across uh, his channel where he's sharing tips, especially as far as doing poultry farming as a business, because when you read his profile, he's actually a business person. And if you're out there and you're looking at starting a poultry farm in 2026, or you're someone who has already started and you're aiming at scaling up, still this live stream is going to be so beneficial to you. So what you have to do is get a notebook and sit still as the actual farmer all the way from Kenya shares his amazing tips about how to start a successful poultry farm in 2026. The actual farmer, you're welcome to call me Fridaus.
Okay, thank you so much, Fridaus, for inviting me onto your channel. I really appreciate. So
Uh,
my name is Mayuba Brian, popularly known as the Actuary Farmer. I have majored in poultry production, doing something known as profitable and sustainable poultry farming business here in Kenya, and that is what I am known for. And I also usually give out some tips on how you can be able to succeed in the poultry farming business. So in
amazing.
today's So in today's video or in today's live stream, we will be able to talk about how a farmer or any aspiring farmer can be able to start a profitable and sustainable poultry farming business in 2026. Now,
Exactly. And we are going to start right there. But there's something
yes,
about the actual farmer. He's actually raising kienyeji and he's
yes,
doing this as a profitable business. So, Brian, let's start from right there. If
yes,
someone is planning to start poultry farming in 2026, especially with the kienyeji or the local chickens,
yes,
what
yes.
steps, what first three steps must they take before they even stock the first batch in on their farms?
Okay, for the first thing that they have to know is that they have to be able to study the market. They should be able to know whereby they will sell the product. So they have to know which kind of breed of bird. That is the second part. If they have studied the market, then they will know which kind of breed of bird that they should be able to rear in their area. And third part is the capital that they will have, so as they can be able to stock the number of birds that they want to stock. So for the birds, as you know, the actual farmer I usually do the kienyeji. Here in Kenya, we call them the improved kienyeji breed of chicken. These ones are like an advanced an improvement that has been done on the local breed of the local chicken, the local kienyeji, and it has whereby you find out that these birds they tend to grow faster and also they tend to lay more eggs than the local kienyeji breed of chicken. But the benefit of this improved kienyeji breed of chicken is that they are able to have almost the same similar taste of meat as the kienyeji. And for the terms of capital, when you want to be able to start, I've said we have the broilers, we have the layers, and we have the improved kienyeji breed of chicken. So it depends. If you are living in an urban setup, maybe whereby you want to sell your birds and very faster, you end up finding out that for the broiler, because you have a wider market base, you'll end up finding out that it will be easy for you to be able to sell the meat for the broilers. And for the layers, it doesn't matter. It can be an urban setup or even a rural setup. It can be so easy for you to transport the eggs. It doesn't matter where you are. It can be so easy for you to transport the eggs to reach your market. And for the improved kienyeji breed of chicken, you have to be able to understand the market so well and be able to do your mathematics right. Because for the improved kienyeji breed of chicken, it depends. Are you rearing for them for the purposes of meat or you are rearing them for the purposes of eggs? Because there are a bird that are dual purpose because they can either be used for eggs or they can either be used for meat. Meaning if you want to rear them for a period of like 3 months, then you can be able to sell them for meat. Then if you want to rear them up to like 5 months, then henceforth, then you can be able to rear them for the purposes of eggs, whereby they can be able to give you the fertilized eggs. For the improved kienyeji breed of chicken, you're only rearing them for the purposes of eggs. Okay, so after I've studied the market, Now you want to be able now to start your farm. The first thing, maybe now you are green, you haven't done anything on that farm, or maybe you haven't started the farm yet. So what you have to do, the first thing you have to do, you have to make sure that you want to construct a poultry house. And for the construction of the poultry house, you have to make sure that you are following the standards of how a poultry house should be constructed. For most of our farmers who are living in the East African region, so we have to make sure that you are constructing our poultry house of around 8 feet high. That is from the floor up to the roof, whereby the roof starts. And there at the bottom, you have to make sure that you're constructing a small base of around 60 centimeters, which is around 60 centimeters, 61 centimeters, which is around 2 feet from the ground, so as it can prevent flooding. So those 2 feet, you usually construct them using blocks or the bricks, so as you can prevent flooding into the poultry house. And the poultry house should be constructed in an east to west direction, so as it can prevent the sun rays from getting into the poultry house, which may encourage cannibalism and also which may cause high temperatures in the poultry house.
Okay.
So for these two sides, the longer ones, the length, you have the length and we have the width.
The
So
width,
the
yeah.
width, yeah, the width is the one that has to face east and west. The width, east and west. Then this length is north and south. So these other sides is the north and south. And the width side is the side that have to be closed entirely, these both sides. If you're living in an area that you experience a lot of sunlight that can get into the poultry house, it has to be closed these both ends. And this longer side, you are from the remaining around 6 feet, it has to be placed using a chicken wire. Then you use this chain link as so as we can be able to prevent predators from coming into the poultry house. And at the top of that poultry house, you have to make sure that you're using the chicken wire properly so as we can prevent predators from getting into the poultry house. We don't want you, because there's this certain kind of predator that tends to get into the poultry house and it only sucks blood from the chicken. It doesn't eat the meat. So when it
What's
sucks
that?
there is a certain, it looks like a raccoon, like it looks like a wild cat. So it tends to get into poultry houses. Here in Kenya, it's so common. So you may end up finding out that it gets into the poultry house during the night. So it sucks blood from, and mostly it usually affects chicks, I mean. So it gets into the poultry house, then it sucks blood from most of the birds. So you may end up finding out that when you're waking up in the morning, you find out that a lot of your chicken have been mauled by that kind of wild animal. So you have to make sure that when you're constructing your poultry house at this top end, because there's usually a space up there, you have to make sure that you are covering it up fully. So, and also on the floor of the poultry house, you have to make sure that you are, when you're starting, some people you have a smaller budget, but you have just to make sure that you are completing your floor so as we can prevent the burrowing of other rodents that can come into the poultry house and can tend to bring diseases into the poultry house. So that's how you
Okay.
should be able to construct your poultry house.
Okay.
That's the first thing that you have to do as a poultry farmer before you start.
Brian, let me
Then,
cut you short, yeah?
yeah, yeah,
In Uganda, there is this tendency that if you're raising local birds, you can
yeah.
actually keep them in these rental buildings. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say about that? If it's an abandoned house, instead of maybe having tenants there, you can actually bring in your chickens. What do you have to say about that kind of setup?
Yeah, yeah. That's also a good way if you are starting up and maybe you have an adequate budget, I can say so. The only problem with such houses is that if you tend to overstock, so if you overstock the house, you may end up getting a lot of respiratory problems with your flock. But if you are able to manage the flow of the poultry house properly, what do I mean? That meaning that the bedding, if the wood shavings tend to get a bit dirty, then you remove them on time, then you can be able to manage. That's the only way of how you can be able to manage on such a poultry house, because I realize that when the house is a bit enclosed, you end up finding out that the chicken usually tend to get a lot of respiratory infections. But the only advantage is that if you're able to maintain the high levels of cleanliness, then you'll be able just to do it the rightful way, and you'll be able to succeed in the venture. As I said, me, I started my poultry farm in a very small house. So it was it took a while, but sometimes I faced challenges. But I realized maybe my problems were not taking out the wood shavings on time. That's whereby I found out that my chicken was suffering from the respiratory infections in most cases. Yeah. So if you have that house, then you can be able. But I usually advise, if you are able to, if you have a budget, then you can be able to construct the poultry house. But if you are starting up, then the abandoned house can be able. But I know for the chicks, it is good from 1 day up to 2 months. They rarely get disturbed by the respiratory diseases. But after that, then you'll tend to find out that the chicken want to an ample environment, so as they don't get those respiratory infections. Because there's a certain breed here in Kenya, I won't mention the name, because they have a tendency of getting that respiratory infection if they are in a crowded area, and they tend to get a lot of mortality. So that is the only disadvantage. But I don't know on your part, maybe you can give me something maybe I don't know about
No,
the the
it's actually the same as
yeah, yeah.
you are saying.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But it's good you can start there. You can start from somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Mm,
okay. So
yeah.
after the construction of the poultry house, which other step must I uh, prepare for before I stock my birds?
So you have to make sure that you are fumigating the house. That is whereby you have to do the disinfection of the poultry house. Like I usually do, mine is 7 to 10 days before I stock the birds. So I disinfect, then I fumigate the whole poultry house. So you after I fumigated the poultry house, I cover it. So you fumigate with the formalin and the potassium permanganate. So then that fumes will be able to kill all the bacteria and the viruses in the poultry house. Then you cover it for 7 to 10 days. Then after that, then you can be able now to come and place your wood shavings. And for the wood shavings, what I usually do, I usually have to make sure that I have sieved my wood shavings, I have disinfected them outside. Because these wood shavings usually get them from the workshops, and these guys, you don't know where they have gotten the wood from. They have stepped on those wood shavings, so you may end up carrying a disease from the workshop there, for those guys that sell the timber, up to your poultry farm. So you have to make sure that you have sieved, so as you can remove the smaller particles, so as you don't get the respiratory infections. Then after that, you have to make sure that after you have done that, you disinfect and sun dry your wood shavings properly before you place them in the poultry house.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So then after that, you can go ahead and decide to put which kind of buzz. Then after the 7 to 10 days, you can decide to put the buzz that you want. If you want to start with the day old chicks, others want to start with 1 month old chicks, or
Which one
even
is better
12 of
though? Most people say that when you I don't know, they have a conflict. They don't know which
yeah.
one. Should I bring 1 month old, the old
Uh-huh.
chicks? Which one is better from your
The
experience?
better version usually it goes with the persons also, because I usually say the best chick is the day old chick, because you'll be able to study the chick, and you'll be able to rear the chick properly from day one up to wherever time that you want it, and you can be able to manage the diseases, and you will be able to know what kind of a problem my chick faced before it reached a certain point. Because I read somewhere that if your birds are attacked by these coccidiosis during early stages in life, you end up finding out that they don't reach the peak production in eggs. So maybe you can be someone can sell to you birds that have suffered that disease early on in life, and you may end up finding out that your birds aren't able to reach the peak production. So that is the only disadvantage with buying these birds, maybe not from a reputable person or a reputable farmer. And other farmers, you may end up finding out
Are you a breed as well?
a breeder.
Mm.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah, yeah. I'm
supply the
also
old chicks?
yeah, yeah. I supply also the old chicks.
Okay. How can someone know that whatever chicks they are getting from the supplier, they are good quality? Now
So
that
that
you were a breeder, you
then
can
now
give
that
us some tips.
you know for the day old chicks or for the 1 month old. I'm asking, like, is it for the day old chicks or for the 1 month
Yeah,
old?
for the day old chicks.
For the day old chicks, now that comes to the reputation of the hatchery that you're buying the chicks from. Yeah, because people, other people, they usually only measure in one thing. They want the money, and other people want to be able to study, for example, a certain kind of field and be able to grow in that field. So it depends. So other farmers, they want just the money. They can be able just to do their own kind of breeding, and they can be able to sell to you birds that you'll end up finding out that maybe they are not growing or they are having high levels of mortalities. Yeah. So that comes to the reputation of the farmer that you are buying your chicks from. Yeah, but it's so hard
Okay.
to determine the problem with chicks when they are at day old, because chicks at day old, they all usually look the same, but the difference usually
True.
starts to come at around 3 to 4 weeks of age. Then you'll start to see inconsistency in growth. That is if it is in growth, and maybe if maybe they have gotten the eggs from a wrong or a parent stock that maybe can be infected with salmonella. You end up finding out that salmonella is some kind of vertical disease. So you may end up finding out that you get these chicks that are suffering, are really dying during the early stages in life. Maybe during the first week, you get a high levels of mortality. So that can be another problem. Yeah. So the reputation really plays a big part in that.
Okay.
And yes, and I was talking about the other farmer, whereby you find out that a farmer can decide to buy the month-old chicks. So there are other farmers who are so busy with work, and maybe they don't have that good person who can be able to rear for them the birds at the younger age, from day old up to like, or 1 month. So they tend to buy the 1 month old chicks.
Okay.
Or maybe others are in diaspora and they want to be able to rear some birds. So you end up finding out that they are afraid to bring maybe day old chicks, and maybe the guy that they have kept at the farm messes up, and that will be a huge loss to them. So they tend to buy the 1 month old. So that is also understandable. Yeah. But the best
Okay.
one is from day old, as I said. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's very important. There's something I want to know from you. I don't know how it is in Kenya, but
Hmm.
here feeds remains one of the most costly expense on the farm, and it tends to make other farmers close their farms. So how is it there, and what's the best way of going about feeds as a beginner?
Oh, you know, I'm a bit confused there. I thought in Uganda feeds were a bit cheaper than here in Kenya. Oh,
It's the same. I think it's the same story.
oh. So here in Kenya, what we usually do, since here in Kenya we have a very huge competition. In Uganda, I think the staple food is matoke, something like that. So I
Which
thought
ingredients do you use in
maize,
mixing feeds for the chicks?
maize plays a big part.
Even
So
here, it's the biggest part.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was saying, like, you don't have a lot of competition on the maize part. So I thought that the maize, since the demand is not so huge, so that the prices will be a bit cheaper. Oh. So here in Kenya, we eat a lot of ugali, which in Uganda usually call it posho. So here in Kenya, you eat a
Even
lot of.
here,
Oh,
schools,
oh.
people, they actually, even in the villages these days,
Hmm.
things
Also
have
maybe.
quite changed a lot. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So in Kenya, the prices of feeds usually are a bit higher. So if you're a beginner poultry farmer and maybe you just decide to go and buy those feeds from the local agrovets, then you want to be able to make anything, because you'll find out, even for the guys that are rearing the layers and they are buying feeds from the agrovets, they only make a profit of around 3 shillings. I don't know, 3 shillings. You'll have to multiply with around 24 Ugandan shillings to get the right rate. So around 3 times 24. So that is what they get as profit per egg here in Kenya.
Wow.
Yeah, if they buy the feeds. So what you usually do, you have to make sure that you are formulating your own feeds, because if you formulate your own feeds, you end up finding out that you're saving close to, here in Kenya is around 800 shillings, which is in dollars around 5 to 6 US dollars. That is what you'll
Mm,
be saving. Yeah, 5 to 6 US dollars that you'll be saving per 50 kg bag. So if you have a bigger flock, you'll end up finding out that you're saving a huge chunk of money at the end of the month. And when you
mm.
do it in like 365 days, then you'll find out that you're saving lots of millions
Wow.
in Kenyan shillings. Yeah.
Interesting. We are having a chat with the actual farmer, and feel free to drop your questions, and he will reply to these questions later on once he's done with his presentations. We are talking about how to start a successful poultry farm in 2026. And here is the most interesting part, Brian.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the business side of
Yes.
poultry farming. You know,
Yeah.
most people, it's one thing to start a poultry farm, raise the birds, but now the point comes in when someone is not actually able even to scale up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone is just stuck, and
Mhm.
before you know it, someone has quit poultry farming and they are cursing the whole venture. So, how does someone enter into poultry farming and they are able to do it as entrepreneurs, just like in other fields?
Yeah. So, like for me, what I do, I usually do the hatching business, and my dynamic is way different, and it is easily scalable. And how was I able to scale the business from 50 chicks? Because I started with 50 chicks, and now I can be able to hatch 3,000 chicks per week. How was I able to scale? So I started my business with only 50 chicks, but I realized that was an easy dynamic because what I did, I bought day old chicks, then I brooded them for a period of 1 month, then I sold them off.
Okay.
Yes. Then
Why
I
did you sell
continued
them off?
because I never had enough money to raise them up to the point of lay or even up to whereby they can be sold for meat. So I only had money that can be able to raise them up to that 1 month. Then I sold them at a profit. Then I bought 100. Then I repeated the same technique. I brooded
Okay.
them for 1 month because cash flow is king in any kind of business. Cash flow. So you have to make sure that you are getting money over and over. Because, for example, there, if you want to raise birds, like for example for the layers up to point of lay, you have to make sure that you have some other source of income that can enable these birds to be raised up to the point of lay. So even if you have raised, for example, like 300 or 500 layers, you have to have another source of income. You can decide to raise the local birds or the improved KNG birds or even the layers. There are some farmers usually want layers at 1 month of age. You can brood for them, then you can sell them off at a profit. So the profit will help you to continue buying feed or formulating, buying the ingredients so as you can be able to formulate feeds for these birds so as they can continue growing up to the point whereby they can be able to give you the eggs. So as you continue like this, you won't be able to stop. Even after these other birds have started to lay, you'll still have some continuous cash flow, then meaning that you'll be able to get money from the brooded chicks and also you'll be able to get money from the eggs, meaning you'll be getting more money out of the business. So you'll be continuing to expand. Since me, I started the business when I was so young, so I used the principle of 70/30, whereby I was reinvesting 70% of the profits into the business and I was eating 30% of the profits only. So that's also helped me to make the business grow. So that is the only advice I can give to farmers is that make sure that you are reinvesting more of the money into the business. But most farmers, other farmers are of different, they come from different areas and maybe they have started the business so as it can be able to help them fully. And maybe that is whereby maybe the challenge can come. Maybe you end up finding out that you're eating into the business, but you have just to make sure that you are a bit disciplined, only eat the profits and don't eat too much of the profits. Make sure that you are investing more into the business so as also the business can be able to grow. Yes.
So, which percentage must I be eating of the business?
30%.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, 30%. So it doesn't. So the model I've said you can be able to be you can, as I've said, you can brood the chicks, then you can sell the chicks. That's the only easiest model in the poultry farming business that anybody can be able to engage in and be able to make lots of money early on in the business. Because
Okay.
if you don't have a lot of money, then you may get at 3 months or 4 months, then you get stuck. If you get stuck, then you start to give your birds. Here in Kenya, usually call it githeri. There is this kind of mixture that you have just mixed without caring if there is enough protein, enough food protein in the feed, enough the amino acids. So then you'll end up finding out that your birds are delaying to lay. They are attacked by these other diseases. So that will be a loss on your part. Yeah, so you have to
Okay.
make sure that you have some backup plan when you're raising the birds. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting. So as we wind up your presentation, Brian,
yeah,
if someone is entering into poultry farming as a business,
yeah,
I
yeah.
know mindset is very important. So, what does
Exactly.
a successful poultry farmer? What kind of mindset do they usually have? Someone like you, what's your mindset that you walk into poultry farming as a business?
Okay, my main thing as I entered to the poultry farming is that okay, I loved animals much, so I wanted to get to something that I love and also that I can be able to generate revenue out of it. So I was really fascinated with the birds, and I really wanted to know how you can be able to improve, for example, a breed. So I usually keep on testing over and over, and I want to be able also to help more farmers or more human beings as per se, so as they can get out of poverty through poultry farming. So as also I can be able, so I usually test, I usually learn things, and I usually test. Even for the feed formulation, I usually test lots of formulas because there are other formulas that are there online. Then you end up finding out that if you're using such a formula, you are not getting any, you're not saving any money. So you end up to finding that you're saving maybe only a very little amount of money, like only $1 per bag. So it doesn't make sense. So you have just to be very open minded and be able to think outside the box. Because I
Okay.
think maybe that's what maybe clogs most of our minds. We want just to think like, because I usually think like, if this other guy was able to do it, how is he more special than me? Because I think everybody can be able to do what they want to do, and
Okay.
everybody believes in what they want to believe. Yeah, if you believe in yourself, then you can be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So if you believe that you can be able to achieve, like raising, like for example, I'm giving my target that 2026, I'm starting with 500 bars, and by the end of the year, I can be able to have like a flock of 2,000 bars. Then you'll be able to reach there. You only have just to keep your mindset straight, and you have to say that I'll be able to achieve. If you're able to achieve, then making sure that you are saying that you'll be able to achieve, meaning you'll be able to put in the factors that will help you achieve your goal of having the 2,000 bars at the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wow. Thank you so much. So this is the last one. I know it's almost time, but this is a rare opportunity which has actually presented itself to us.
yeah, yeah.
Brian,
Hmm.
you are a young gentleman, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm quite curious, and I know my viewers are curious. Do you think, as a youth, do you think poultry farming has a lot of opportunities, especially in 2026, so that more youths should actually explore these opportunities in poultry farming?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Poultry farming has a lot of opportunities, and I think most youth can get into the poultry farming sector because I think, like currently, for this generation of ours, for us the youth, you end up finding out that there's the internet. Like for our fathers, like our father, or like for our parents and our grandparents, they could only be able like to explore or be able to sell their products within their local area. But now, since we have the internet, you can be able to learn things from the internet very fast. Because, like for our parents, they have to go to an institution so that they can be able to learn things. For example, if they want to learn things in the poultry sector for months, so as they can be able to start. But now, since we have the internet and the youth can be able to access the internet very fast, And this is the best opportunity for them, and this is the best era for them to be able to explore this sector. And you end up finding out that the youth, they can learn things very, very fast, unlike our parents who are maybe a bit older. So they can be able to get into the field with the energy that they have and the zeal, and they don't cry. So don't cry about unemployment so much. Maybe most youth, they usually say that, here in Kenya, we usually say that ukulima sio ushamba. Like, I mean, like, doing farming doesn't mean that you're a person from the village. Okay, so so for most of my youth, I want to urge you that you have to engage and try to engage in the poultry farming sector, because you have the time and you can be able to learn things over the years, and you can be able to
Okay.
keep on perfecting. So it
Okay.
doesn't matter. You may lose one bird or two birds, but you'll be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. You may lose because you have time. Even if you are around 21, 22, then you're losing around up to around 25 years. You'll have learned the art so properly, so you won't be able to make the same mistakes from 25 onwards. So get into poultry farming with a little amount of money that you have. It doesn't matter. The starting capital, the only thing you have to make sure that don't party with the money that you get from the first flock. Reinvest the money. Then you'll be able to grow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
an opportunity, and I know most people are going to ask me to visit you, and I'll make sure
Okay.
that I respond and I'll visit your farm so that we can have an exclusive. But this was beneficial as well. So right now we're just going to go through the comments. There was a problem in the schedule. We have a presidential debate going on. We
Oh,
are in election period, and that's why
yeah,
most
yeah.
people are not here. And I think some of them, like in the comments, someone is like, this is unfair. How can you bring my favorite guy on the same day and time when we are for presidential debate? So I think, Brian, if you do us a favor and you come back again on a separate
Yes,
day, if
yes,
you don't
I'll
mind.
be back. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be back.
today I just remembered when it was already too late. Um,
Oh, no problem.
but someone here, Oria, is saying that you inspired him to start poultry farming. This person is in Tororo now with
Mhm.
1,500, 700 birds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
I
grateful.
plan to
Yeah.
visit him to learn more about the cage birds and how the hatchery. Thanks a lot for the live. That goes without mentioning.
Mm.
Emmanuel here is saying it seems the most profitable part of local chicken farming is selling day old chicks. How feasible is rearing the birds for meat? And I don't know the last part. So, how feasible is it to raise the birds for meat in local chicken farming?
For the local breed of chicken, if you are formulating your own feed, then it will be profitable. But if you're purchasing, then you'll make a minimal amount of profit. What do I mean? For raising a bird from day old up to point whereby you'll be selling for meat, they usually consume around 4.5 kg. So if you're able to lower the cost of production, for example, here in Kenya, so I'm just well averse with the figures here in Kenya. So it's around 73 shillings per kg. So if you're able
Okay.
to formulate 73 shillings per kg of feed, that a bird will, for the cost of the feed, then you'll find out that those birds will consume around 4.5 kgs till they
Mm-hmm.
reach the market weight. So if you are able to formulate your feed, then you'll find out that you are formulating your feed at around 44 to 45, 45, 4 to 45 Kenyan shillings, meaning you'll be able to save a huge chunk of money out of it. So if you're able to save around, I can say, like, is it 30, around 30 bob. So if you're able to save around 30 shillings per kg, then that will come back to the profit side. So, but if you're not formulating the feed, then you'll end up finding out that you're making a bit small amount. For example, like for the rearing of the birds, if you're using that current rate, if you're adding other things, you'll end up finding out that the cost of the bird here in Kenya will be around 550 to 600. That is the cost of production. Then you'll be able to sell the bird at around 800, which is after 3 months. So if you do the calculation of around 200 shillings dividing by 3, that will be around 60 something, around 68 there. So that means that that is a small amount of money. Meaning, if you're able
Mm,
now to raise, if you're able to brood birds and sell at 1 month of 1 month, you'll make almost double that because you'll make a profit of around 140, something like that. So it
okay.
doesn't make sense to be able to rear those birds if you're buying the feed. If you are rearing for the purposes of meat, make sure that you're formulating your own feed. If you formulate your own feed, then you can be able to make a good
Okay.
amount of money out of the venture. Yes, that is the
Mm-hmm.
only part. But the benefit of the improved kienyeji breed is that if you are rearing for egg, you can get the eggs out of the birds. Then after the birds have become tired of laying, then you can sell them for
Mm,
the cost that you used to raise the birds, and also a profit up on top. So that's the benefit of the improved. If you are rearing for the purposes of eggs, and for the
mm.
eggs here in Kenya, no, not so many people raise the birds, and many want to hatch some chicks. They want to hatch some chicks, so you'll end up finding out that there's a huge
So the
market of
eggs are
them.
they have some good price.
Yeah, yeah, they have a good price because they usually sell at around 7 point something, $7.5 for the
Oh,
fertilizer. That is for a tray. Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
That's
that
quite
that is the
something.
market price. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And the cost of production
Okay.
for the cost of production for that tray is around $2 there. So you'll make a,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, $2, $2.
Wow. That's some good
Yeah,
area to explore of selling
yeah, yeah,
eggs.
yeah,
Eh?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Harriet, thank you so much for tuning in. She says hi. Then Hamza,
Hi.
working schedule changed finally present. Oh, it's good to have you here in the right time, Hamza. Thank you so much. And then Ayise Mahmoud says, "Oh, this is my student. You know, was I'm a teacher, so this one
Oh,
is." Then Onyanga Samuel says, "Thank you so much. I love your program." Brian talked of formulating your own feeds, but in Uganda here, we commonly use maize, soya, and sunflower. Please do you first roast sunflower or
soya is the one that has to be roasted.
I don't think sunflower has to be roasted.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I think Samuel, you have got your answer. Hamza, just appreciating the lectures. Grace, this one is late and some names are difficult to pronounce. This one is from Mozambique. Thank you so much, Jove, for tuning in. Unfortunately, you've not asked so many questions, and our guest has finished his presentation. Unless, Brian, you have one more remarks, I think we have to end this live.
I, I just want to thank everybody that has been able to tune in and to listen to our lecture. Really
Mm,
appreciate.
Also, Brian has a very wonderful YouTube channel. That's something worth checking out for. He has information there. He documents his experiences on on the farm, but he also organizes lectures or presentations for you on the channel as well. My favorite topic of you was the one when you were talking about what you wish you knew before starting a poultry farm. That was quite insightful,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that's something that's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I thank you so much for coming through tonight and
Yes, yes.
everyone who has tuned in. We are going to bring Brian back. I know most people have missed out and they will come in my inbox because
Yeah, yeah,
they had
yeah.
to, politics directly impacts agriculture and farming. We
Exactly.
find that most farms are now on a standstill until the elections are done. So they
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
follow closely.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I'm going to see you again in the next one.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye bye.